Every morning at 4 a.m., violet paint, 50 pounds of weight, and a smile that existed only for the camera, but when that paint came off the face underneath, was far more painful. The Munsters made the world laugh, but what did they suffer themselves? That secret no one has ever truly known. Number 1. Fred Gwynne as Herman Munster. Born in 1926, Fred was 38 when filming began, and today, had he lived, he would have been 100 years old. His journey was nothing short of remarkable. Herman was the lovable, bumbling patriarch, a 7-foot Frankenstein's monster who genuinely believed he was completely normal. That comic innocence is what made him unforgettable. But the man inside the costume was anything but ordinary. Fred Gwynne was a Harvard graduate, a U.S. Navy veteran, and one of the most intellectually serious actors of his generation, hidden every day beneath 50 pounds of foam, 5-inch platform boots, and a face painted violet from jaw to hairline. He wore it every single day of production for 2 years. After the show ended, Gwynne found himself trapped by the very role that made him famous. Studios saw the monster, not the man. Film work dried up almost entirely. He resented Herman Munster for years. The costume that had consumed him had become a cage, but then came the redemption arc. Late in life, he made peace with it, saying, "I love old Herman Munster. Much as I try not to, I can't stop liking that fellow." And the world responded. Pet Sematary in 1989 reminded audiences he could terrify as well as charm. Then came his final performance, Judge Chamberlain Haller in My Cousin Vinny in 1992, a role so beloved it is still quoted today. Away from cameras, he published 10 illustrated children's books, warm, whimsical pages that could not have felt further from Herman Munster. He married twice, Jean Reynard from 1952 to 1980, with 5 children, then Deborah Flater in 1988. Fred Gwynne died on the 2nd of July 1993, just 8 days before his 67th birthday from pancreatic cancer at home in Maryland. The curse of 1,313 Mockingbird Lane had claimed its first name. Number 2. Al Lewis's grandpa, Count Dracula himself. This is the man the New York Times couldn't figure out. Born in 1923 or so, we're told Al was 41 when the Munsters began. By the time of his death in 2006 at age 82, he had spent a lifetime being the scheming, the wisecracking, and the eternally restless Al Lewis. The chaos engine of every episode, and possibly the greatest character he ever played, was himself. He ran a Greenwich Village Italian restaurant called Grandpa's Bella Gente. He hosted a radical talk show on New York's WBAI radio. He was a regular on Howard Stern's program, where he once delivered a stream of live on-air obscenities that brought the broadcast to a halt. In 1998, he ran for governor of New York on the Green Party ticket, securing over 52,000 votes, enough to guarantee the party ballot access for 4 years. But here is where the story fractures. Lewis claimed a PhD in child psychology from Columbia University. Columbia has no record of it under any name. He claimed adventures as a merchant marine. Unverifiable. Most strikingly, he insisted he was born in 1910, not 1923, which would have made him 95 at death, not 82. His own son corrected the record after he was gone. The New York Times concluded that almost every claim Lewis made about his early life was unverifiable and possibly false. Here is the real question. Was Al Lewis a liar, or was he simply a man who decided to play a character until the very last day of his life and simply never broke the fourth wall? The evidence is divided. Drop your verdict in the comments right now. Before we continue, let's take stock of what we've learned so far. The man who played the lovable Herman Munster resented that role for years, couldn't find work, and died just 8 days before his 67th birthday. The man who played his father-in-law may have fabricated his entire personal history, birth year, academic credentials, life adventures, and took those secrets to his grave. And we are only 2 actors in. Stay with us, because what comes next is the most quietly devastating story of them all. Number 3. Yvonne De Carlo as Lily Munster. Born in 1922, Yvonne was 42 when the show began. She died in 2007 at 84. But to understand why she said yes to Lily Munster, you have to understand what she was carrying when she walked through that door. Her father abandoned the family when she was 3. Her mother raised her alone, working as a waitress. Yvonne built herself from nothing, winning Miss Venice Beach in 1938, becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars through the 1940s and 50s, the queen of Technicolor. starring opposite Charlton Heston in The Ten Commandments in 1956. Then in 1962, her husband stuntman Robert Morgan was catastrophically injured on the set of How the West Was Won. The bills were real, the recovery was long and brutal. The Hollywood career she had sacrificed years for was not going to cover either. Lily Munster wasn't a creative decision, it was a lifeline. Taken by a woman who had already given up her peak years for the man she loved, and now had to provide for him using the only tool she had left, her name. She nursed Morgan through years of painful rehabilitation. They had 2 sons, Bruce and Michael. After a stroke in 1998, she spent her final years at the Motion Picture and Television Country House in Woodland Hills, California. Fans remember Lily as television's most elegant monster. What they rarely know is that the woman behind the white streak and the black gown was one of the most quietly courageous people in this entire story. Number 4, Butch Patrick as Eddie Munster. Born in 1953, Butch was just 11 years old when the cameras rolled. Today, at 72, his is one of the most honest and hard-won stories on this list. Eddie was the werewolf boy, polite, wide-eyed, utterly lovable, the heart of the show's cross-generational appeal. But childhood fame extracted a price that took decades to pay. After the Munsters ended, Butch battled the ghost of 1313 Mockingbird Lane for 40 years, cycling through alcohol and drug abuse, reaching for relevance with a 1970s band called Eddie and the Munsters that never quite found solid ground. The decades were difficult and largely private. Today, he has been clean and sober for nearly 10 years. He survived cancer. He now works actively with people battling addiction, channeling 40 years of hard experience into something of genuine use. He married Layla Murray in 2016, works the independent film circuit, and travels the country attending fan conventions alongside replicas of the iconic Munster family cars. He runs a YouTube channel called All Things Munsters. Butch Patrick is proof that the Munster legacy, for all it cost him, became the very thing that gave him a reason to keep going. Number 5. Pat Priest as Marilyn Munster, Seasons 2 and 3. Born in 1936, Pat is 89 years old in 2026 and living one of the quietest, most private retirements in this entire cast. She stepped in mid-series and became the definitive Marilyn across 57 episodes, the conventionally beautiful niece whom the family pitied for being too normal, while she was, in fact, the most grounded person in the house. Then, the studio replaced her with Debbie Watson for the 1,966th theatrical film Munster, Go Home. Not for any creative reason, but simply to promote a younger actress they had under contract. Here is the fact that stops most people cold. Pat Priest's father, Ivy Baker Priest, was the United States Treasurer under President Eisenhower from 1953 to 1961. That means if you find a dollar bill from that era in an old drawer today, there is a real chance it carries the signature of Marilyn Munster's father. The show that was never meant to be taken seriously has fingerprints on American history. Elvis Presley personally gifted her a car, one of many he famously bought for people who caught his attention. After stepping away from acting, Pat built a second career in real estate, buying distressed properties, restoring them, reselling them. She remains intensely private today, and that privacy itself feels like the most Marilyn Munster thing she could possibly have done. Number 6, Beverly Owen, the original Marilyn Munster. Born in 1937, Beverly was 26 when she joined the show, but tragically died on the 21st of February 2019 at age 81 from ovarian cancer. Beverly's Marilyn anchored the first 13 episodes, the foundation the character was built on. But she was deeply unhappy in California, separated from the man she loved, writer John Stone, who would go on to create Sesame Street. She asked to be released from her contract. The studio refused. It was Fred Gwynne and Al Lewis, the same 2 men, the same friendship forged on that set, who reportedly threatened to walk off entirely unless Beverly was freed. The studio relented. She left. She chose love over fame, married John Stone, earned a master's degree in early American history, and spent years working quietly behind the scenes at The Ed Sullivan Show and Captain Kangaroo. She never sought the spotlight again, not once. When news of her passing reached Butch Patrick, he wrote, "Beautiful Beverly Owen has left us. What a sweet soul. I had the biggest crush on her." Beverly Owen's legacy lives on. Her 13 episodes remain some of the most warmly regarded in the series, and the courage she showed in walking away from fame is remembered as clearly as anything she ever performed. And that's the full story of the Munsters cast 62 years later. 6 people, One Impossible House on Mockingbird Lane. Lives that turned out stranger, sadder, and more remarkable than anything the show ever put on screen. Here is the one question we want you to sit with. If you had to choose between fame and the love of your life, exactly as Beverly Owen did, what would you choose? Tell us honestly in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, our video on the Addams Family cast is right here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.